we'd just get frantic. I mean, I get that way. Just a couple of weeks ago, I think I was in Birmingham, and I should have been up here in the hospital. I mean, I needed to be here, and I needed to be there, and I'm big, but I could not split myself that day. And it stressed me. And we get in such a hurry. And that's why our health, my health and your health, and I'm working on mine, you work on yours, but that's why our health has got to the point that it is, because, I mean, we just grab it, swallow it, and we go. I mean, we eat on the road. I mean, fast food. When I was in the grocery business, I learned this. I learned that folks are going away from the eat at home thing, and they're eating out. Somebody said you can eat out just as quickly and just as easily and just as cheaply as you can eat at home. Yeah, but there's something missing. There's that family atmosphere. I don't know about you, but I like to sit around the table every once in a while with my family, and I like to eat. I like to sit in the car and eat. That's my problem. I like to eat anywhere. But we get so busy. We're living in a busy time. It's a time of substitutes. I asked a question some years ago in the church where I pastored. I said, how many of you folks had a buttered biscuit this morning? Oh, hands went up everywhere. I said, now how many of you had a margarine biscuit? I mean, substitutes. Looks like the real thing, but it's not. And that's the same way with Christ. I think a lot of times we have placed a substitute or a stand-in His position. And I believe that there is a missing Christ that we need to recapture and need to refine and find in our lives tonight before we can go on in this Christian walk. But they'd gotten so busy that they did not even realize that He was gone. They were doing the same thing as they left as they were doing coming. But there was something different. Because when they went in, they had Christ with them. But when they came out, He was missing. They didn't even know it. I think we can get so programmed. You know, we're pitiful, ain't we? I mean, we really are. I mean, might as well call the kettle black, whatever that thing said, whatever it's supposed to be. But you know what I'm talking about. I mean, we're pitiful. Because we always harp on them folks at the big church. Because they say they're going to sing at this time and this time and this time they're going to do that. We don't know what we're going to do. We do. And if Christ don't show up, we can still go through this ritual that we got. Amen. I mean, we can still go through. We can sing our songs and enjoy ourselves and go out and pat old brother so-and-so on the back and say, it's been good seeing you today. And, whoo, didn't we have a good time? You know what we need? We need to fall in love with Jesus again. That's what we need, is to fall in love with Jesus. Someone told me this past week, and I didn't realize it. But with our 60th anniversary, if you think about all of the talk that went on, 99% of the talk was this: I love this church. There's nothing wrong with loving the church, but we ought to love Jesus. We ought to fall in love with Him again. In the book of Revelation, remember the church said, I've got somewhat against you because you've left your first love. You've left your first love. That's what happened there in Jerusalem. Jesus did not leave Mary and Joseph, but it was Mary and Joseph that left Jesus. And if you find yourself missing Jesus, it is not because Jesus got up and walked away from you. It's because you have walked away from Him. And we're too busy. We are. The Bible, Jesus instructed us to come apart and rest a little while. You say, oh, preacher, I do that. Yeah, you do. But while you're sitting there resting, you're thinking about what you ought to be doing. What you ought to be doing. I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, when I go home a lot of times, I call it rest. I said, well, I sure do need to go over there to the nursing home, or I need to go back over to the hospital. I need to be here. I'm sure when Brother Hoyt goes home, he says, well, you know, if I'd have stayed 20 more minutes, I could have nailed 5 or 6 more boards. I mean, some of y'all folks, Brother Doyle, would probably say, well, if I'd have stayed a little bit longer, I could have probably went ahead and fixed that motor, and them boys could have got more done tomorrow. I mean, you know how it is. I mean, we say we go home and we rest, but do we really? No, man, we stay stressed out. We really do. Because we've got to a point to where we feel like that we can handle it. What we ought to do is just give it to God. Fall in love with Him again. And look around and see where we left Him. And then do that second thing that Mary and Joseph had to do when they couldn't find Him. The Bible said they had to turn around. Turn around. When you lose something, what do? First thing you think of is, where was the last place that I had it? How many of y'all lost your car keys today? Yeah, every day. Somebody loses something. And what we have to do is stop and think, where do I remember having it last? And we need to think tonight, where was the last place that I remember when I really got a hold of God and knew that He was there? And if you can remember where that place is, you can go back there and you can find it. They sought with their acquaintances, kinfolks. Have you seen it? That's just like us. I mean, when we come through a dry spell in our Christian walk, we don't feel like we used to feel, and our shout isn't there like it once was, then we go to our acquaintances in the church and say, does his preaching sound as good as it used to when he first came? Are you enjoying it really as much as you used to? I'm not, see. Can you sense something's wrong? And they go to their kinfolks and their acquaintances. And we do the same thing. And we begin to ask one another, hey, is it just me? Or do you feel this way? And they begin to look for the Christ. And they couldn't find Him in their kinfolks, and they couldn't find Him in their acquaintance, so the only thing they knew, the only thing they could do was turn around and go back to the place where they saw Him last. And my friend, if you want to really have power in your life and find Christ anew and afresh, you're going to have to go back to the place where you experienced Him last. Where did they go? They went and they found Him in the temple, which is the church, and that's where you'll find Him. There was a fellow called me that's a member of this church. Hadn't been here in a while. He called me the other day. He said, you want to go fishing? I said, well, I'm kind of busy and I can't. Well, put me on your calendar for next week. We'll go fishing. And I said, fellow, I want to tell you something. I said, I've been missing you at the church house. Saving your place, and I've been missing you. He said this, Brother Dwayne. He said, well, preacher, said, I'm going to be honest with you. Said, my battery's dead. And I said this. I said, well, bless God, you ain't going to get it charged up in the world. You ain't going to get it charged up out there. You need to find the place where you experienced Him last, where He was really real in your life, and go back there. And folks, get a hold of God. Amen. It'll make a difference in your life. Now, I want to ask a question as they come tonight to get us a song of invitation. Are you missing Him? Are you missing Him?